With so much happening in The Rise of Skywalker, there were definitely a few cool hidden details you missed. Fans would need their own wayfinders to track it all down, not to mention decoding all the characters with more meaning than you may realize. Here's what you may have overlooked. Emperor Palpatine looks pretty rough post-resurrection in The Rise of Skywalker, and understandably so, but his majestic throne is a different story. Palp's craggy chair, the Throne of the Sith, is the coolest bad guy seat outside of Game of Thrones, and there's a good reason for that. The legendary Ralph McQuarrie, the man largely responsible for the look of the original Star Wars trilogy, designed it in the 80s for Return of the Jedi. Lucasfilm creative art manager Phil Shostak revealed this unused throne room art on Twitter back when the final Rise of Skywalker trailer dropped, posting McQuarrie's old sketches next to Palpatine's new throne. McQuarrie passed away in 2012, and his obituary in The Guardian notes that fewer of his ideas made the cut in Return of the Jedi. So it's cool to see McQuarrie's work put to excellent use in Skywalker. Die-hard fans know that Darth Vader's helmet, designed by Ralph McQuarrie, was inspired by samurai armor, and director J.J. Abrams made it clear to Entertainment Weekly in 2015 that Vader's grandson Kylo Ren's helmet is meant to be a nod to Vader's, in case that wasn't obvious enough. Ren's helmet, smashed to bits by its owner in The Last Jedi, is back in The Rise of Skywalker, but only after some repairs that also evoke a centuries-old Japanese tradition. In Skywalker, an unnamed ape-like creature restores Ren's helmet using a technique similar to Kinsukuroi, or golden repair. Kinsukuroi is all about embracing flaws as aesthetic features, and typically involves repairing broken pottery using visible gold seams. In The Rise of Skywalker, Ren's helmet is reforged using a red material of some kind, but the idea is the same. Rather than make the helmet repair seamless, the red becomes part of the new design. Abrams confirmed that Kinsukuroi was the inspiration for Ren's Rise of Skywalker helmet in an interview with Empire, saying, "Having Kylo Ren be masked but also fractured is a very intentional thing, like that classic Japanese process of taking ceramics and repairing them. As fractured as Ren is, the mask becomes a visual representation of that. There's something about this that tells his history. His mask doesn't ultimately hide him, and his behavior is revealed." When Rey uses her Force powers to heal the underground sand snake on Pasaana, thus ensuring a safe exit for Episode 9's heroes, it was surely a surprise to casual fans of the Skywalker saga. We've seen the power of the Force do some pretty insane stuff, but it's mostly used for telekinesis and mind tricks, at least in the 8 films leading up to The Rise of Skywalker.
Does she do that to us?
In the expanded universe, Force healing is definitely a thing, but Episode 9 is the first big screen depiction of the Force being used in such a manner. The small screen, however, is a different matter. Baby Yoda attempts to heal Mando in Chapter 2 of the Disney Plus series The Mandalorian, but is inadvertently stopped just short of doing so. In Chapter 7, however, released on the streaming service the day before Skywalker hit theaters, everyone's favorite 50-year-old baby heals Bounty Hunters Guild head Greef Karga after he's scratched up and poisoned by pterodactyl-like creatures on the lava-spewing planet Navarro. Like the Sand Snake in Skywalker, Karga is so grateful that he decides to let our heroes escape with their lives. Fans of The Mandalorian likely perked up when they saw Rey, and later Kylo Ren, pulling off the same miraculous trick, a neat reward for those who caught the episode the day before. After Ben Solo gets chucked into a seemingly bottomless pit by Emperor Palpatine, just like Anakin did to Palpatine in Episode 6, a devastated Rey, who still has the Emperor and his deadly Force lightning to contend with, meditates and hears several voices. There's no way those voices are just random, of course, and some, like Yoda, Anakin, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Qui-Gon Jinn, are pretty obvious, but in the chaos of the big final battle, it was probably hard to make all of them out. Here's a quick rundown of the more obscure voices of Jedi past featured in the sequence. Adi Gallia first appeared in The Phantom Menace, but most fans know her best from the animated Star Wars The Clone Wars series. Similarly, Luminara Unduli and Ayla Secura first appeared in Attack of the Clones, but are both best known from Clone Wars. Ahsoka Tano is also from Clone Wars, but The Rise of Skywalker is the character's live-action debut, technically, even if we only hear her voice. Same goes for Kanan Jarrus from Star Wars Rebels. Yep, that means Freddie Prinze Jr., or his voice at least, is in The Rise of Skywalker.
You're serious? That's a heart attack.
The Rise of Skywalker ends with the heroes of the new trilogy celebrating in much the same way the original trilogy's heroes did in Return of the Jedi, prefaced with much intergalactic fanfare. But this time around, one overlooked Wookiee finally gets the gold. In arguably the most blatant example of fan service in the film, Chewbacca, who famously did not get the same recognition as the humans during the Royal Award ceremony in A New Hope, gets a medal from Maz Kanata in The Rise of Skywalker, and it's not just any medal. It's heavily implied that this award, which Leia clutches as she passes away, is the one Han received in A New Hope. In that first Star Wars installment, you'll remember, Chewie stands quietly in the background while Princess Leia hangs medals on Han and Luke. His untranslated cry is the last sound you hear in the film, and for Chewie fans, it might as well have been subtitled, "What about me?" Fan service or not, there's no denying that the big lug deserved it, considering all that he's been through. Cool planet, cool name, cool cameo. In The Rise of Skywalker, the snowy planet of Kijimi plays a key role in the adventure as the home planet of Zori Bliss, who ultimately helps get C-3PO to Babu Frick, the cute alien dude who hacks his programming in order to translate the Sith dagger. So what's with the name Kijimi? Well, thanks to one observant Redditor, we know that it's the name of a synthesizer manufactured by Black Corporation, a Japanese company who counts Skywalker director J.J. Abrams as a huge fan. So it makes sense that legendary composer John Williams, fresh off his 9th and probably final Star Wars composing gig, appears in a brief cameo on the synth-inspired planet. It's a quick blink-and-you'll-miss-it moment, but he's there, wearing a futuristic monocle and shaking his head at our heroes as they enter the droidsmith's shop. Bonus fun fact, his character's name is Oma Trey, an anagram of Maestro. X-Wing pilot Wedge Antilles was one of the heroes of the Battle of Yavin in A New Hope, narrowly surviving the daring attack on the Death Star 1.0. He appeared again in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, but The Rise of Skywalker marks his first appearance in the new trilogy. Actor Dennis Lawson reprises the role in a brief cameo in the final battle, praising Lando's aim to boot, but it sounds like he needed some convincing. In 2015, Lawson told The Courier that he was offered a role in The Force Awakens, but believe it or not, he flat out turned it down. When asked about the potential gig at a screening for The Machine, Lawson told a reporter he had no interest in the role whatsoever. The Scottish actor said, "I'm not going to do that. Disney asked me, but it just would have bored me." We can't say for sure at this time what convinced Lawson to don Wedge's uniform once again for Skywalker, but our guess is that Disney was perhaps a bit more generous with the galactic credits, if you catch our drift. As befitting the 9th film in an epic saga, The Rise of Skywalker is positively packed with nods to past installments, some a bit less significant than others, but still cool. Among the many mini Easter eggs and callbacks hidden within, Rey's yellow lightsaber at the end. Clone Wars and Rebels features ones of that hue, and there's an old official toy saber that's yellow, but it's the first of its kind in the Skywalker saga. Also, Ben and Han's implied "I love you, I know" exchange is a callback to the famous Han and Leia scene in The Empire Strikes Back, of course. There's so much more. C-3PO's line about the Aki-Aki celebration only happening every 42 years is a sly reference to the fact that when The Rise of Skywalker was released, A New Hope was 42 years old. Lando's blaster is the same model as the one he used in Solo, which is a neat detail. The Holdo maneuver, a reference to Vice Admiral Holdo's daring trick in The Last Jedi. We could go on, but some of the best references in The Rise of Skywalker actually came in the form of cool character cameos.
I guess we'll have to eat this boring oatmeal.
It's a trap!
Wow! Admiral Ackbar!
Admiral Ackbar is more than just a meme. He was a staunch ally of the Republic during the Clone Wars, one of the Rebel Alliance's most valued leaders during the Galactic Civil War, and one of the co-founders of the Resistance. He was also a brilliant tactician, a former prisoner of war, and a family man. The last bit came to light in Marvel Comics' Star Wars Allegiance, which bridges part of the gap between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. The Resistance forces are decimated after the Battle of Crait, and Admiral Ackbar is among the casualties of war. Leia needs a new ship, so she heads to Admiral Ackbar's home planet, Mon Cala, to recruit some new allies, where she's greeted by his son, Aftab. Aftab helps Leia foil the plan of a Quarren terrorist, assists in her fight against the First Order, and forges a new treaty to get the Resistance the help it needs. By Episode 9, he's joined the Resistance in full, offering advice during some of the briefing scenes at Resistance HQ. Allegiant General Pryde, played by Academy Award nominee Richard E. Grant, makes quite an impression. Not only is he a sour, foreboding officer in the same vein as Peter Cushing's beloved Grand Moff Tarkin, but by the end of the film, he's Kylo Ren's right-hand man, having replaced General Hux during his rise to power. The movie doesn't share much about Pryde's past, but we learn late in the film that he also served the Empire under Emperor Palpatine. According to official Star Wars lore, he also helped train and apparently kidnap the First Order's legions of stormtroopers. He's been around for a long time, and he's down with the Sith.
No going to the dark side.
Okay.
If you were watching TV or movies in the 2000s, you'll recognize actor Dominic Monaghan right away. The English actor played the Hobbit Merry in The Lord of the Rings and had a leading role on Lost, which was co-created by J.J. Abrams. While Abrams was writing The Rise of Skywalker, Abrams and Monaghan bet on a World Cup soccer game. The prize? A role in Episode 9. Obviously, Monaghan won the wager, and Beaumont Kin was born. Abrams might have created Beaumont for his friend, but he didn't give the character very much to do on screen. Thankfully, a couple of comics have fleshed out Kin's personality. In Star Wars Adventures number 27 through number 29, Kin teams up with Chewbacca to liberate the Wookiees' home world from the First Order. We learn that Kin fancies himself a historian, although he's not quite as smart as he thinks he is. In fact, overcompensating seems to be Kin's whole deal. He pretends to know Chewie, a war hero, better than he does, and despite his brave facade, he's scared of ghosts. Still, when push comes to shove, Beaumont rises to the occasion. That's not just any Ewok watching happily as a First Order Star Destroyer blows up above the forest moon of Endor. That's Wicket W. Warwick, the first Ewok that Leia met in Return of the Jedi.
I'm not gonna hurt you.
It's even the same actor in the suit, Willow and Leprechaun star Warwick Davis, suited up again for The Rise of Skywalker, returning to the role that he originated when he was just 11 years old. Wicket was arguably Return of the Jedi's biggest breakout star, and he went on to become one of the most widely featured Star Wars characters throughout the 80s. Davis played the role 2 more times in 2 made-for-TV movies, as well as a long list of additional Star Wars characters over the years. What you may not have noticed, however, is that Wicket now has a son, Pommet, who's played by Warwick Davis's own teenage son, Harrison. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about The Rise of Skywalker are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.